Hello trading friends, in this video we're going to talk a bit about the mind-body connection, and it certainly doesn't have direct correlations with trading and charting and technical analysis, but there are parallels, and we're about to put out a course on the essential candlestick patterns, and in one section of that course I talk about the art of observation. So obviously observation is very key as a trader and investor. We're observing correlations, we're observing volume and indicators, and we're reacting to those observations, hopefully to be making profit and placing trades. So there's also correlations with just you want to keep a healthy mind and body as a trader long term. If you're going to be sustainable, you need to have longevity here. And if we're eating Doritos and drinking Mountain Dew and sitting at the computer for 12 hours a day, you're not going to be able to do this for decades, which is ideally what we want to do to have that financial independence. So I'm going to tell a little bit of a story in terms of how I made the mind-body connection with a little bit of guidance from one of my friends, and it changed my life, and hopefully I can spark a little bit of insight into your own lives to lead to some change as well. So I was traveling back in my mid and early 20s all around. I was camping outside and sleeping in the backcountry, and I started to observe that, I would get these little bumps on my inner arms, these little itchy bumps that would build up over time, and they would get very noticeable. And so I was thinking, is it fleas? Is it scabies? What's biting me that's causing all of this? And that's because, again, I was in the environment and out dirty and in the woods all the time. That was the default to make me think it's something in my external environment that's causing this on my body. I was then in Puerto Rico, or I was in Costa Rica with one of my buddies, and he had already started, observing what he was eating and making sure that he was putting good things in his body. I wasn't there just yet. I was fresh out of college where I was eating crap, and this is actually the journey that led me down towards organic farming and being very conscious about what I'm putting in my body. But at that point in time, he suggested to me, hey, maybe it's something that you're eating, maybe it's not something external. And that was really the first time that I even considered that that would be a possibility. So it then took about 2 years of constant observation of my body, where I would do elimination diets and, only eat rice and drink water for 48 hours and then start to add things back slowly, and then just observe, how is my body reacting to, gluten? How is my body reacting to X, Y, and Z, and just adding things back. And eventually it turns out that it's alcohol. When I drink a bunch of alcohol and it builds up in my system, my skin reacts to it. So I was able to diagnose that myself and go to a doctor, and the doctor said, yeah, that's not too uncommon. I've seen that plenty of times before. And it was the kind of thing where Western medicine really fails to do the detective work. And Western medicine, again, I'm generalizing, Western medicine is great for a ton of things. It's obviously made huge leaps and bounds, and with broken bones and diseases and everything, there are tons of benefits of Western medicine. But where it falls short, in my opinion, is trying to fix causes rather than symptoms. Everywhere that I went, every doctor, every dermatologist, they wanted to give me steroid cream just to put on the rash and it'll go away. But it's going to keep coming back if I don't realize and figure out what the cause is behind this. So, nobody ever asked what I'm eating. That was never discussed once in any of the doctor's appointments, and they didn't care about my observations. I'm an expert in observing my body. I do it every single day for every hour that I'm conscious, but they don't care about what my observations were. It was a very frustrating experience, bottom line, but fortunately, with the help of the internet, I was able to figure it out for myself. But it really was the mind-body connection, because we have this conscious mind, we have a thought, the little voice in our head that's talking to us, but that little voice isn't telling us what our body is trying to tell us. So our body gives us symptoms, it gives us a fever, it gives us an itch, a rash, and it's up to our mind to then be conscious of that and say, okay, I've got a pain in my knee. I don't know what's causing that pain, but I know to, investigate further. And then my brain can, do some backtracking and say, oh yeah, I banged my knee, 2 days ago really hard, and I probably have a deep bruise there. Or other ways that we can investigate as to what the cause is. So our body gives us signals, but it doesn't, our body doesn't have a little designated voice in our consciousness that's saying, hey, your body's reacting to alcohol. It gives you the symptoms, but it's then up to us to determine, what do these symptoms mean? What is the underlying issue with this, with your body going on? So I was able to then begin observing my body, and I was astounded at how much information our body is constantly telling us that we can easily subconsciously take for granted and just skim over. And the reason that I'm making this video right now is I was recently sick, and unable to make videos for a day or two, which was rare, but I had a fever and I was able to observe, I can tell when I have a fever just based on the symptoms and how my head feels, and I can even pinpoint it down to a certain couple of degrees points. I can tell, if I have 101 fever, or I can tell if I have 104 fever and if it's getting more serious. And I was just imagining, what would that fever look like on a chart? And I would get really, when I was really sick, I'd get a fever and it would spike, and then I'd go back down towards my equilibrium temperature and then get another little fever, but it wouldn't be as bad. So I was imagining a descending triangle if I were to chart my body temperature as I was going through this sickness. But again, just observing how my body is reacting to things and being able to say, okay, well, my lymph nodes started swelling in my throat first, so that means the point of attack was probably, via my mouth or nose, which is the most common. But there's times where I've had illnesses or sicknesses and it'll be my armpit lymph nodes that'll swell first, or even sometimes it's been my groin lymph nodes that'll swell first. And so there's just these little things that we can observe about our bodies. And again, you can observe changes in your diet and the significant implications that that can have based on what you are eating. So through all of this experience, I learned what was causing my body to have these reactions, and now I can very easily, manage that and still drink alcohol, but just make sure to not let it build up in my system and make sure that if I have any symptoms start to show that I stop. And from there, I changed my diet and I started to be more conscious of what I was eating and saying, wow, my body really is trying to tell me things, and it's up to me as the observer to make that mind-body connection and to be able to interpret the information that my body is telling me and to be able to consciously then act on that information. So I suggest to everybody that start paying attention to your body. If you are feeling a certain something in your body, like a pain in your neck, another example is just my monitor. So I got my computer and I got my monitor over here. And I observed, hey, I'm starting to get this pain in my trapezoid on this side of my body, and thinking, okay, it's probably obviously to do with sitting at the computer all day and maybe my posture and things like that. But I worked it down, consciousness, trying to find these clues and saying, okay, well, my monitor is always on the right side, so my head is always either looking straight or looking to the right. I bet if I move my monitor over to the left side every couple of months and just switch back and forth, it's gonna balance out and even out that strain that I'm putting on my body, so it's not all one-sided. So even that is just a minimal observation that I can make. My body gave me the signal, hey, you're doing something repetitively, your body is reacting to that, and it's probably not beneficial, and then I can consciously make the decision to change my environment and then change that system and make my body react the way that I want it to and even things out a little bit more. So start observing your body and start even making notes about it. And it's astounding how much information you can get from your body that otherwise, if you're not paying attention to it, you just completely ignore, and it is wasted information that your body is attempting to tell you that you don't consciously pick up on. So I appreciate you tuning in. Just some shower thoughts that I thought I would share with you all. Have a great rest of your day.